Well, greetings everyone and welcome to this webinar. We'll discuss Road to the Cloud and Office 365 performance in a minute. But for now, please note that we cannot hear you as you are on mute. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can use the chat window and we'll address any question during an open Q&A session at the end. Okay, let's begin with an introduction of today's speakers. Jeff, would you like to start?
Yes, thank you. So we can go on the next slide. So my name is Jean-François Piot. I'm Vice President of GSX and working very closely with Microsoft and all of our strategic alliances. And I am with Jan. Jan, hello Jan.
Hi guys, I hope you can hear me. This is Jan. I'm taking care of customer support at GSX.
Great. So the first thing we would like to discuss in this webinar is why the best practices matter. And of course, after we review them and we will give real example with statistics to show you in real life why they matter and how you can use Microsoft tools to troubleshoot and as well improve your user experience. So next, as most of you may know, the cloud and the access to SaaS application from anywhere has profoundly changed the way enterprises are organizing their network and security. So remote worker connected via VPN to the enterprise data center in order to access application is not a viable system in the cloud. MPLS network connecting branch offices to the headquarters to access SaaS application is also fading away in most enterprises because of performance issues when accessing to SaaS application. The end user experience has become really the key challenges for every company using SaaS solution and of course Office 365. So that's why Gartner has done many studies on that topic as well as Microsoft. You can see the title of some of these studies for Gartner. Microsoft has a series of blogs regarding modern service management and of course all the TechNet regarding the Office 365 network principle. And these best practices described by Microsoft are really coming from, from thousands of deployments and all the performance issues that came with them. So at GSX, we have assisted hundreds of customers with their performance issue as well. And even if each company has its own particularity, nobody is special enough to avoid abiding by these best principles. And you will see why. So let's see what they are. Next slide. So this slide might be well known for some of you. If we can see it, yep. But we have been surprised during our discussion by the number of companies and Office 365 project manager that didn't really pay all the attention it deserves. So here is a quick sum up. There are 4 principles, and we will come back on each one with real-life example right after. The first one is the optimization of the traffic. As we will see in the next slide, Microsoft has done considerable effort to reduce the number of FQDN that must be prioritized. So now you have a very limited number of port and URL to deal with in order to enhance dramatically Office 365 experience. And that first point is really key because it allows you to abide by the 3 other principles. The second principle is to enable local egress. As discussed, this is in contradiction sometimes with the old way of setting enterprise network. But again, you just must do that for a few URLs now. To differentiate traffic should be able to exit to the internet as soon as it can, and this traffic should connect directly to the nearest Office 365 front door. As we will see, there are front doors everywhere now, and the Microsoft network will always be faster and more secure than yours. And finally, you should review the way you secure the traffic to Office 365. It is a major point that needs a deep coordination between your Office 365 team, the network team, the security team, in order to avoid duplicating security processes that are already existing in Office 365. And we will see that at the end of this webinar. So let's go back to the first principle to see it a bit in detail. So next slide. So as explained earlier, Microsoft has made critical effort to decrease the number of FQDN that you need to prioritize to enhance the end user experience. From thousands of URLs just last year, It now comes down to less than 10. So you have 2 for Exchange, 2 for SharePoint, 2 for Teams. The URLs are really critical because they handle a large volume of data and they are very sensitive to network latency. For these ones, this optimized one, proxy bypassing and inspection of SSL breaks are really strongly recommended by Microsoft. Working only on this URL will cause dramatic improvement in the end user experience, and we have seen that at really multiple customers. There's a second category that's called allow URL are less sensitive. A lot of clients only focus on the optimized FQDN, and it is really a very good start. But of course, if you can work as well on the allow URL, you will get better results. Of course, the last part, the default URL, should be treated the same way as any internet request. So let's go now on the second principle, for which we can show you a test in real life. Next slide. This one is, of course, the Egress Local. As explained earlier, you should reach the Microsoft network as fast as you can. The goal is to egress Office 365 data connection as close to the user as practical with a matching DNS. And you do that to leverage the high performance of the Microsoft global network. So I don't know if you know these figures, but the network right now has about 200 million users, meaning Microsoft had 160 global edge sites, so a lot of founder, that are connected to over 130,000 miles of dark fiber, and all of that connect to Azure's 54 global region. So it's very difficult for any enterprise to beat that network. So let's speak a bit about the DNS lookup. And we will see now in real life what it does. If the DNS lookup are not done at the same point as the network egress, the user might be directed to a distant Office 365 front door, and that will cause an user experience issue. So let's see that in real life. Next slide. In this example, we will see how to detect degradation of the end user experience on a particular site and how to troubleshoot it with the Microsoft connectivity tool. Jan?
Sure. So I'm going to show you a lab we set up to demonstrate the effect of what's going on with networking changes and suboptimal settings on the end user experience for Office 365 workloads. Here, what you're looking at is our top level dashboard in Power BI. I'm assuming that everybody knows Power BI, but we can go over it in the Q&A sections if need be. I can show you here, we've got 6 or 7 robots that are running in the data center here in Nice, all of them on the same Hyper-V host. So there is nothing that will change on these robots except for the networking configuration and from time to time, little differences here and there on the OS. I need to go over what a robot is. You know, GSX robots, they basically use the same protocols as your end users. They are consuming Office 365 workloads the same way your users are, using the same protocols, doing the same actions. So for example, if I take an Exchange robot, it's going to open a mailbox, create a meeting, do a search in the same way as an end user does, and they do it locally from your Office locations. So with the GSX robots, we are able to monitor the end user experience quality from a local standpoint. In our demonstration today, we will see that the different workloads are impacted by different conditions on the networking side. And we will also see, obviously, that the user experience quality is drastically impacted. So here, on average, for all the workloads, we are within Microsoft guidance 91% of the time, almost 92%. Here on the second graph, we can actually see the higher the better, and on the second row here, the more events you see, the more warnings we get, so the more trouble we have. As far as DNS configuration is concerned, what we've done in the lab is actually set up a robot with a DNS that is actually located not in Nice, but in Russia. So let me show you that directly. I think I can try to run that directly from here. We are going to take a look at that. machine right here. This is the connectivity tool that Microsoft just introduced at Ignite in 2019, a few months ago. They are, this is a proof of concept right now, but it actually shows a bunch of things and it helps us understanding what's going on with the DNS. Here on this map, you can actually see, sorry about this. This is where the robot is located. That little star right here is my egress point to the internet. And you can see the optimal front door locations. I've got several around me, but the DNS is actually located right here. That makes Office 365 think I'm some sort of in between Nice and right here. So I'm going to connect here to Office 365 in a suboptimal front door location and connection. This is exactly what Jeff was implying about. And the tool here allows you to actually see what's going on. This is also something that we can see here. If you take a look at the robots for the DNS, I can show you. OneDrive. That's going to refresh. This is our real-time monitoring tool called Gizmo. It allows us to actually graph what's going on with the different robots and the different actions. You'll see that the robot with the bad DNS, which is right here, is fairly impacted compared to the other robots. And we can see that it's suboptimal with, for example, the login execution time. Also, something that we can see in our Power BI dashboards. So let me get that. For example, SharePoint. Again, I'm comparing here, as you can see, my robot on Windows 2010 and, oh, sorry, this is the DNS, my bad. Sorry, this is for Exchange actually. I'm comparing a robot for Windows 2010, which is our best performing robot. There's nothing wrong with the network configuration here. And the bad DNS robot that has a DNS in Russia. You can see here clearly that there's a clear impact on the end user experience. For example, if you look at the open mailbox time, just by changing the DNS, almost doubles the time it takes to open a mailbox. See here on the search, roughly that executing a search on your mailbox in Office 365 with a bad DNS is taking about 40% more time than with the regular DNS. Same goes for FreeBSD and things like this. I'm not going to go on and on, but as you can see clearly, just a bad DNS setting in your networking configuration has a huge impact on your end user experience.
Thank you, Jan. Maybe we can go to the next slide now. So really here we saw that DNS is a major case of issues, and it's just an example of how important it is to egress local, really on practice. So coming with that, the third principle is to enable direct connectivity. So when the traffic is out, especially on the optimized FQDN, it should connect directly to the nearest Office 365 front door. We have seen three main situations that are causing hairpins and increasing the network path between a user and the Microsoft network. First one is the DNS lookup, and we just saw that in the last example, and we saw the consequences. The second one is cloud-based network security device. If you are choosing a cloud security provider, make sure that the network device is physically near the user. Otherwise, you will increase, again, the route to the cloud, and then you will have a potentially performance issue. So you need to discuss that with your cloud security provider. Third main case is the connection through a headquarter. Enterprise ones are often designed to backhaul network traffic to a central company head office for inspection. And we have seen that many, many times at customer. And these go a bit against everything you should do to ensure a better end user experience, at least again on the optimized FQDN. So let's see that in real life, in an example. Next slide. So here we will see with a real example again how backhauling your internet connection affects the end user experience and how you can troubleshoot that with the Microsoft tool.
Sure. So here I'm going to go back to my top level dashboard just to show you again. So here my Windows 10 robot is my best performing robot. I also have a robot that I'm using VPN on, and I'm connecting that VPN to the US. So basically the robot is still in Nice and it's connecting to the US, and its egress point is in the US. I've showed the tool, the connectivity tool from Microsoft before. It takes a little bit of time to run on a robot that has bad networking connectivity. So what I've done is put that in a PowerPoint, screenshots and stuff like that. If we get time, I'll show you that at the end of the webinar. It's going to basically the connectivity tool actually uses some of the previous Microsoft tools, like for example the networking assessment tool, and they actually make a bunch of tests that allow you to. Oh yeah, cool. Okay, good. Thank you. We actually see a bunch of tests that are actually happening, and it will tell you exactly what's going on. So on the tool that we saw before, here's the results of what's going on when the DNS is actually not optimal. I can show you that later on. We can come back to that. Here on the robot that he's connecting to the ES via VPN, the connectivity tool directly shows that we have an issue and that we are going to be on subpar user experience. And actually 89% of the people have better performance than we do just by changing that. So by backhauling the traffic to the US for inspection or for various other reasons. So for example, my colleague Garth is traveling from the US to the Nice office to have a quick discussion with me. And he's keeping his VPN open to connect to the head office in the US. We are guaranteed that he will have sub-performance user experience on Office 365. The tool is actually really nice. Once you get it to run properly, and you need to run it in Edge so that it allows you to run the advanced tests. It will actually give you what's going on and tell you what are the problems that you may be experiencing with the suboptimal networking configuration. Again, I want to emphasize the fact that here, the only difference between my Windows 10 robot and that robot is the fact that it's connecting via VPN to the US. If you take a look at what's going on, you can, Microsoft is detecting obviously that the egress point is not optimal. It will tell you that a bunch of people have better performance than you do. And here, for example, if I go to the next slide, will actually tell you that you will be having issues with media, for example, Teams. And that is something that we can actually see later on in the various dashboards I was showing before. Last but not least, it will do some connectivity tests and some trace routes. So the connectivity tests will actually test all the FQDNs that Jeff was talking about, the prioritized and the important ones, and it will tell you, okay, if you really want that to work properly, you should look at that. It's a very good tool to actually debug things. Obviously, monitoring is very important, and it will help understanding what's going on at a larger scale. But if you're having issues with an end user, for example, or with an office, I highly recommend that you're going to use this connectivity tool right here. Basically, at the end of the test, the tool will tell you exactly what you need to do. And some of it is very obvious. You need to shorten the distance between your end user and the egress point. You need to shorten the distance between the DNS and your end users. Everything that we talked about. it's very important that to understand that latency can be infused in many different layers on the networking side. You can do it at the one layer by backhauling your traffic like we are doing here and showing here. You can do it at your security perimeter if it's under provisioned or not configured optimally, or basically if you're going online for that. It can also be infused at the ISP layers when they don't have peering or routing optimized for SaaS. This is really important to understand. The tool allows us to debug and to understand what's going on. We can also see that we have data available in our Power BI, for example. If I look at SharePoint, you can actually see I've got two robots here, my robot with the VPN and my robot in Windows 10. Fairly, it looks okay. It's not too bad. We're 82% of the time within the recommendation from Microsoft. You can see here that the robot that is in blue, our VPN robot, is fairly close to going over the time it should take to log into SharePoint. You can see the difference with our regular robot, which is basically half of that time usually. And we have different various metrics, that we can collect and see everything that's going on. But basically here, if I attract your attention to the last two graphs, you will see that the total execution time from our robots in this with the two different networking configuration is drastically different. Almost 30% difference here between our robot with the VPN that is backhauling traffic to the US from the robot in Nice. And most importantly, if you look at the user experience here, this is my robot in Nice where nothing is actually messing around with the network. And it's actually within the Microsoft recommendations more than 98% of the time. As if you look at my VPN robot, it's only providing satisfactory end user experience 66% of the time. So if you look at it from a broad scale, from an average standpoint, basically, you think that everything's okay. But as I was mentioning before, my colleague Garth, coming from the US, trying to get stuff from his OneDrive is going to be an issue. That's for sure. Just because he's backhauling traffic to the US. Something that we can actually also show here on the VPN, which is really illustrative, it's what's going on with Teams. So sorry, I'll go back here to the top level dashboard. We can actually see that everything's okay, like we have 92% of the time, everything's okay. Teams is okay most of the time, except for some robots. And if you take a look at Teams in particular, and it all makes sense basically, I would like to attract your attention to the round trip time. Obviously, my robot who's backhauling traffic to the US takes too long to do a round trip, way too long compared to the Microsoft recommendation, which is right here showed in a red dotted line. My robot in Nice is almost okay, almost all the time. My robot that is connected to the VPN is never okay. And that has a direct impact on the MOS, mean opinion score. A Teams call that has a MOS below 4 is not acceptable from any standpoint, and user experience is not going to be satisfactory. The fact that we have round trip that is too high has a direct impact on the mean opinion score. We can see here the robot that is connecting through VPN is having issues most regularly. Something that we can also note is that jitter is impacted, and we all know that jitter is impacted by the round trip, and that has an effect on the quality of your Teams calls.
And we need to move on because we are almost out of time. So the last recommendation is to avoid security duplication. So as already discussed, security, so next slide. So the security is a key challenge for enterprise. Next slide again. Yep. But you have to understand that security is as well key for Microsoft. So most enterprises are using proxy, SSL inspection, packet inspection, data loss prevention system. And this technology should still be used for generic internet access requests. They reduce dramatically the performance and the quality of service of Office 365 when applied to the optimized FQDN. And that's why you absolutely need to differentiate your traffic. Office 365 has already a lot of built-in security features, such as data loss prevention, antivirus, MFA, customer logbox, advanced threat protection, network DDoS security, and much more. So finally, Office 365 administrators, they can create proxy automatic configuration scripts, and we will see that in a minute, to bypass proxy for Office 365 requests from one or VPN user. So let's focus on that. And next slide. And Jan, please show us quickly how you can access that a proxy can affect the service quality.
Yeah, sure, I can show you very quickly.
Yeah, how to do this automatic Okay.
Yeah, I'll go back to my top level dashboard quickly, and I can show you here that my robot that is going through a proxy is having Teams issues from time to time. As Jeff was saying, you need to differentiate your traffic. There is nothing easier than that. Microsoft is providing some PowerShell scripts to do that for you. So basically here, I'm showing that the base of the script. You just open a PowerShell command on your machine, you just run the script, and there's help to do that. It will actually generate a pack file. Pack file allows your proxy to actually differentiate traffic and concentrate its effort, all the networking effort to, look at the security standpoint. So that, I'm sorry, I had a bug here, my bad. But basically, you can concentrate all your networking efforts to secure what needs to be secure. And you can actually bypass very easily from the click of a button, basically. And you can do that at scale as well, because the pack file is applicable on all your machines. So you just need to run that script right here, and this will prevent you from doing what Microsoft is already doing.
Thank you. So let's wrap up because time is running. We have seen that the connective principles are designed to help you improve the end user experience. Microsoft has worked, so next slide, Microsoft has worked a lot on its network to allow you to change your route to the cloud in a safe and performant way. But as you implement those changes, it is key for you to be able to measure the results, assessing if the return of investment is good or not for all of the change that you have made. So, and for that, you need to measure the end user experience on every site you want to improve, and that's continuously. So it allows all different stakeholders to have benefit. So, for example, the C-level, it will allow the C-level to secure the Office 365 project cost and measures the ROI of the network improvement. It prevents for the operational team critical situations and management complaints. It improves as well the global quality of the service delivered to your business lines, and finally ensure optimal productivity for your company. So globally, thanks to our robot that measures the end user experience in real time, alert and report on it, GSX is really the perfect solution to go with you on your service quality enhancement journey. So I hope that you have maybe learned something today, see how the connectivity tool can help you troubleshooting different issues that you can have side by side, and that you have seen as well that continuous monitoring is really a good ally for you in order to continuously ensure the best user satisfaction. Thank you, Jan.
And let's continue the conversation one-on-one. We'll answer your question directly as well. Just one last point, an evaluation survey is about to show up in your browser, so please take a moment to provide us with your feedback, and we'll thank you again, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you, bye-bye.